Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a powerful build for Ifan Ben-Mezd in Divinity Original Sin 2. This is going to be mostly focused on Huntsman skills with some warfare, and it's good from Acts 1 and 2. This is actually one of the most powerful builds in the game. And a little fun fact, Ifan is kind of the Welsh version of John, and Ben-Mezd means he came from the desert as he's an orphan. So he's basically John Divinity. He does have this soul wolf that you can summon in, which is actually pretty nice for chipping down physical armor. And since it has a 10-turn duration, you can summon it in before you know you're getting into a fight, like you see enemies here. That is the best part about it. Now, he's got a variety of different kits, and ranged attacking is kind of the ideal way to play him. You obviously want to get high ground whenever possible, so there's going to be some arrow skills here as well, but special arrows are also quite nice. So you don't even have to focus too much on the Huntsman skills. I'll go over the ones that are useful, but honestly think that he's best to dip into some of the other skills as well. He also comes built in with Encourage, so he can be a great buffer, and I like to have him have high initiative so that we can set up the team early. And the best part is we can actually crowd control depending on if the enemy has a specific armor type or not. Obviously we got to wear it down, but things like pin down being physical armor, and then magical arrows sometimes being resisted by magical armor. If there's an enemy that doesn't have that, that's where we're going to be going with. And also with the Marksman's Fang, you can sometimes hit multiple targets and even things like Ricochet, which is quite nice. And the piercing arrows are great because they can pierce through enemies' armor. Now, as far as attributes go, Finesse is going to be our main one since we're going to be using ranged attacks for the Huntsman here. So we want to get this obviously as high as possible as it adds 5% damage per point invested. Memory is not actually a very important skill here because a lot of our attacks will be the special arrows, but it's obviously still nice to have these as there's some skills that we just want for the ability to set up a different position for ourselves or to haste ourselves. And I also like wits because critical chance is extremely good on a build like this, which we do have some pretty crazy critical hit damage that we can do, but you can take some points out of wit and put it into the finesse. I do like getting the high initiative as I find that your ranger, hunter, huntsman character should go first. So my recommendation is as you're leveling up, pump up your finesse skill here, put points into memory as you find you need the skills. It's not super necessary as honestly just doing a regular attack is still pretty good with a bow, and put a few points into your wits as you see fit. Ideally we do like 2 points finesse and then 1 point into memory or wits and then continually pump up that finesse number. Now, as far as our combat abilities go, this is a little bit weird because you'd imagine you'd want to pump up your Huntsman. You actually don't want to, aside from getting the skills, like 4 to 5 points is really all you want here. Just whatever's going to unlock those skills because this gives you increased damage from high ground, which yes, we want to have, but honestly, getting a warfare increase is going to be much more impactful as that's just going to be damage that we'll have at all times. I also like to take a couple points of Scoundrel as this gives us an increased critical hit modifier, but also gives us access to some teleportation-based skills that I think are very necessary. And also a point into Pyrokinetic can actually give us some powerful skills as well, like Haste. And I want to recommend also taking 2 points of Airthurge, because what's good about this is we can actually swap positions with another target and give ourselves high ground for just 2 action points and then put someone else into a bad position. This, I think, is an essential skill you want to at least have 2 points into here. I do like summoning, but I don't think it fits within this build well, so I want to go with at least a few points. I would actually start with only a couple points Huntman, put most of them into Warfare to get our damage up, and then points into Scoundrel and Pyrokinetic. Also want to mention that you can put points into range, because this is actually one of the better ones. Like two-handed's good and all, but range will give us damage and critical hit chance, which is honestly quite good because this is both things, but I would save this till later levels, and you can get that from your gear, so yeah, you ideally want to get your Warfare up to 10 as quickly as possible. A few points into Huntsman, Scoundrel, Pyrokinetic, and Airthurge. Now, our civil abilities, I like sneaking. It's honestly just going to be a solid choice for this setup because, yeah, we're going to do a little bit of stealth, but it's not necessary for this. Now, there's actually a few talents that work very well here. I want to recommend Arrow Recovery if you like to use your special arrows, as this gives you a 1 in 3 chance of keeping them. That's really good. Also, Elemental Ranger is nice because shooting arrows will inflict bonus elemental damage based on the surface you're standing in. If you're an elf, you can actually just make yourself bleed and get extra blood damage, 20% on there. But honestly, still think this is pretty nice because you can move around and grab that. Gorilla is also interesting, but you have to dedicate your playstyle to it, so I just want to quickly mention it here. Well, Sneaking Gorilla increases the attack damage by 40% and reduces the cost of going into Sneak by 1 AP. You are probably better off doing like a Lone Wolf build if you want to use this, but I still think it's a pretty good choice, so I just want to mention it here. I also like the Hothead here, as this gives you an additional 10% crit chance and 10% more accuracy. In the Definitive Edition, it's a little bit harder to get crit chance, so we always like any way that we can get that, especially playing as a ranged character. We're going to be getting hit less often, more likely to keep our health full. Now, Ambidextrous actually works extremely well here because whenever you're using a bow, it actually or a crossbow even, it considers your offhand free, which reduces the cost of using any type of grenade or scroll by 1 action point, which is great. Just be mindful that with a low strength, we're not going to be throwing things very far, but this is still really nice because this reduces the cost and lets us use those a little bit more frequently. Glass Cannon is also nice because this will give you an extra 2 action points at the start of your turn, which is great because that lets you do 3 attacks per turn. However, you will be on fire often, so just something to keep in mind. I do want to also mention the Pawn, which gives you additional movement speed every turn. It's kind of nice, does require 1 point into Scoundrel there, which we do have. And I also really like the Execution. That's my choice here because getting an extra 2 action points is extremely useful after we take out a target. So yeah, my personal role is to go with Ambidextrous, Elemental Ranger, Executioner, and Hothead. This is going to be the highest damage per second round. Now, fun fact, if there's ever gear that you want to equip but you don't have the stats for it, Peace of Mind, which only requires 1 pyrokinetic, will boost your strength by 3. So if you have 10 strength and you need to equip something that has 12, you can pop this, and if the gear has a +2 strength, then you can keep it equipped forever. So we've equipped this armor after popping this here, and as soon as it expires, we're going to be able to still keep this armor equipped. And for skills around level 10, I like to have around 10 slots here. We got obviously Encourage and Summon Ifan's Soul Wolf here. This is great because it gives us a little bit of aggro control and physical damage. But honestly, I think one of the most overrated skills here is the Pin Down. This takes 3 action points, and Cripple is okay. But there's so many knockdown arrows in the game that is much better, so I honestly never end up using Pin Down. It's just okay. Reactive Shot's all right too. Like, that's not one that I like super am dying for to have, but I honestly think that some of the most powerful skills are actually Tactical Retreat. This is crazy because it pays for itself on the next turn. Giving yourself haste gives you an extra action point next turn, and then you also get a free teleport out of this for only 1 action point. This is great because as an archer, we want to get the high ground and position ourselves well, and this is a great way to do it. I also want to mention Phoenix Dive. They both have a 4-turn cooldown. This does require the Warfare, which we obviously have, so this can give you a bit of extra teleporting around. But our biggest damage option is Ballistic Shot here, and we want to basically try and get ourselves a high ground and far away from target as possible. It's really a nuke attack here, and it receives a bonus from our finesse. So this is going to be the main source of our damage here. I also like to have Sky Shot, which will give you that high ground advantage here, and you can sometimes get this off of bows too, so you don't have to prepare it here. I have an item here, Haste, from that, which is not essential to this build, but it's a nice one to have. I think that Sky Shot and Ballistic Shot are going to be 2 of the most common attacks you'll end up using. Marksman Fang is really important though, because you shoot an arrow that goes straight through enemies, and each enemy that it hits takes a bunch of damage straight through, and it hits their health, not their armor. So this can be pretty nice. Ricochet is another one that is actually useful too. So this is a normal arrow that does damage, and it finds 2 other targets. So ideally, if there's a place where you can hit only 2 targets, use Marksman's Fang. If there's a place where you can hit 3, use Ricochet. It's kind of the differentiating factor between these. But Marksman's Fang has such a short cooldown that we kind of want to spam this skill. I also don't mind using Reactive Shot here. This is an okay one. You can target an area, and then you'll shoot arrows at anyone that moves within it. It's kind of good and situational. A First Aid is another good one, which will heal a target for almost 100 health here, cures all those statuses that you can see there, and it gives them rested for 1 turn, which only has a 1 action point cost, which is pretty nice. Now, 2 skills that I think are extremely useful are the Air Third skills here, which Nether Swap allows you to make 2 characters switch places. One of the characters can be you. This is crazy because if you see someone on a high ground, you can say, nope, not today, for 1 action point. Swap places with them, giving yourself that high ground advantage to be able to take them out quickly. Teleportation is kind of a similar one, but you can't, it's 2 action points, a little bit longer cooldown as well. You can choose a point to teleport to. Obviously, positioning is huge as this type of character, so these are 2 that we want. I also like Phoenix Dive because we have the Warfare to afford this, and it's a 1 action point cost. Yeah, you can, we already have a few teleportation skills, so you don't necessarily need it. You could also take the Peace of Mind here, which will give you a +3 to your finesse, increasing our damage, and it can also remove those statuses you see there. Another skill is Cloak and Dagger. If you have the Scoundrel investment from gear, this can be really nice because this does not break invisibility or sneaking, gives you a teleport for high ground. There's also things like the Adrenaline, which is really nice because this basically will give you a free attack, and then you lose that attack on the next turn. But honestly, really nice because this can sometimes be set up to get some extra damage, almost like Action Surge from Baldur's Gate 3, but with a cost. I'll occasionally use Fossil Strike if I have that for the oil surfaces for crowd control, and then also Bless. But my ideal loadout would be Reactive Shot, a Marksman's Fang, Sky Shot, Ballistic Shot, Tactical Retreat being the big MVP of these 2 shots here, First Aid for some heals, Nether Swap, underrated skill, Teleportation obviously really nice too, Ricochet for 3 enemies if you can find them, and Adrenaline. I also have Haste from gear. Now, as far as gear rolls, obviously it's randomized, so we're going to want to prioritize some of our more powerful skills. Like, I like to get my strength up to at least 12 at level 10 here so that we can use some of the strength-based gear. Again, you can use Peace of Mind to be able to equip that. Finesse is going to be our main skill that we want to be focusing on, so look for that. But Wits is kind of the second one there, and I don't mind having Constitution, as the more that we can survive, obviously, the better. Critical hit chance, I got around a 39% here. This is coming from Hothead, Wits, Ingenious, Gear, and 1 from range skill here. My armor has that +3 of strength again, just so that I can equip the other items here. I also have these giving a plus to range and initiative and health. Initiative being a nice skill, because if we can go first, we can sometimes set down the way of the land. So I also like to roll for a bit of constitution and health on the gear here. That just gives us, like, this one plus 74 health. That means a lot. It's like an extra attack that we can take, and the +3 constitution does help as well. And for our bow, I would recommend going, crossbows can be nice too. It obviously depends what you're able to find. This one has a +2 to finesse, has silenced and acid abilities, and a 14% critical hit chance. I would recommend looking for the crit chance. There's some with lifesteal on it, but honestly, crit chance is going to be the most impactful. Now, all this gear is cool and all, but it's just whatever you're able to find. The big MVPs are going to be the special arrows, and most notably, knockdown arrows, because knockdown is such a great status in this game. It's one that we want to be finding. Also, you can get a lot of charming arrows. This is pretty easy to make, but that'll be in a later video where I talk about crafting. I honestly just think that getting honestly any arrow you can find, buy them, but knockdown arrows being one of the most clutch ones here, and slowdown being another good one too. As far as combat goes, I would recommend summoning in your Soul Wolf if you know you're getting into a fight here, as it can just draw aggro away from you. That's really the best thing it can do. It's not high damage, but it's there to just distract the enemies and chip down on the physical armor. And you can see here, it's doing its job well. It's keeping the enemies away from us, and yeah, if it goes down, it goes down. It's fine. But for our first turn of combat, typically we want to see if there's any nether swaps or teleportation that we could do. Right now, we don't got a whole lot. Like, it'd be nice to get up to the high ground right there, but don't think it's super necessary at the current moment. So I'm just going to go with something like the ricochet here, because there is multiple targets. There's 3 of them right here. So I can hit this target and have that chain around. You want to try and get the executioner bonus by using that. So it's sometimes best to save it, but you can also go with the ballistic shot here, as that's going to be one of our more high damage options. Ideally, I could hit a marksman fang here, because those targets would get a pierce off on them, but yeah, I can't make it that far. So sometimes a teleportation is not a bad choice, because you can teleport yourself and then or teleport someone else, and actually probably better to get someone else teleport you. Obviously, nether swap being a good choice, but we don't have any options that are best. So tactical retreat's kind of cool, because yeah, it's 1 action point cost, but you get that action point back on your next turn, so that's great. This will allow us to set up and do a high ground attack off on this target. And we can probably get the, we aren't able to get the pierce there, but that's fine. What's also good is if we wanted to, we could jack up and use adrenaline here. If we had anything else to do, that'd be ideal. This target is pretty close to being taken out, so I might just risk it, pop the adrenaline here, and then go with one of our other attacks as well, with a slowdown arrow having the highest damage. So we're going to go with that to potentially take out this target. Perfect. We took out a target which gave us 2 more action points, which is amazing, because then we can look for any target that's low. This one's already knocked down, but if we're able to, we might be able to get that one knocked down. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. And we still have 1 action point, which is amazing, because we can pop haste and get another action point next turn, or we can encourage everyone. I'm actually in range to do that, so I'm going to pop that just to give everybody a boost. And yes, we got lots of cooldowns, but you know what doesn't have cooldowns? Our special arrows. This target is just going to go down to another shot, so sometimes when you get the high ground, that's all that really you need. So yeah, that is a powerful build for Ifan Ben-Mezd in Divinity Original Sin 2. Stay tuned for future content regarding this game, as I got a lot of requests for it, and playing this game back in 2018, big fan of it, and really love what Larian did with it, so wanted to show some love to this again. So let me know what kind of build you would like to see next. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and I hope you guys all have a great day.